20th, 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
Present.
Director Edwards,
Present.
Director Riley,
Here.
Director Paul,
Here.
Director Gawain,
Present.
Vice Chair Lindor is absent, and Chair Oglesby.
Here.
We have 6 board members present.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'll ask Director Daniels to read us lead us in pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's go on to General Manager. Is there any additions, corrections to the agenda?
No, there are some typos, and I think there were a couple of tables. Are they in the red packet, Sarah?
No, I did not distribute those.
Okay, so
The corrected versions were posted.
we're posted. Okay, so the answer is no.
Thank you. And next we'll go to public communications. Public comments is open. All those wishing to address this body underneath our jurisdictions may do so. We ask that you hold your comments on presentation items. The item is called public comment period is open.
I see no raised hands on the Zoom audience.
Okay, public comment remains open. There no one here, no one public comments closed. Next we go to the consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like to pull off the consent calendar?
Sure, I have
Yes.
2, 5 and 6.
5 and 6, you want to pull them or you just have any
I
questions?
just have questions.
Okay, let's just handle the questions then, if you don't mind.
And
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, pull item 3, please.
Okay, all right. That leaves item 1, 2, 4, and 7, which is okay. Public comment is open on our consent calendar items.
I see no raised hands on the
thank
Zoom
you.
audience.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one, hearing no one. Is there any items that the public would like to pull out the consent agenda? Okay, I'll bring it back. What is the will of the board? The consent agenda only includes 1, 2, 4, and 7.
I move approval.
Second.
2, 4, and 7.
It's been properly moved in second. All those on the question? All
Aye.
those in favor, use the regular sign of voting, which is aye.
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 Nays have the same right. Ayes have it. Any abstentions? Ayes have it, motion carried. Item number 3, consider authorization of various software subscriptions, agreements, and new information technology service contract with Rivera Inc. Yeah, right there, you want to go straight to your questions?
Yeah, I go straight to my question.
Thank you.
I looked at that contract. It's something new to, a new piece to that one. Is a separate contract. I know what we order is usually 213,000, that 94, I think it is. Where is that coming from? It sound like we need to look at a new vendor. Service contract, what is that?
First of all, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Director Edwards, for that question. So there are 2 pieces to this consent item, and this was discussed at length at the FSC. But we have software subscription agreements, for a variety of services, including like Office 365, Microsoft Azure, backup, and I won't be able to recollect all of it, but ERP systems and whatnot. Some of these agreements are managed by Rivera, our IT services provider. And then on top of that, they also have what's called a managed IT services agreement, where they charge us based on the number of workstations and servers that they manage. So if you look at their software services agreement, they break it out. And so like $5,000 and something is for managed services, for each workstation and server. And then they also manage some of our, dedicated subscriptions, like Microsoft Azure and such. One thing worth pointing out is that we did optimize our services. So we have less servers than before. So the amount that we are paying to Devera is going to stay the same. And plus we wanted to go with a local vendor, and we got pricing from one other local vendor, which was like 2 times higher. And Devera seems to be very responsive and is doing a good job. And so we decided to, recommend entering into another 3-year agreement with them.
Okay, you hit my question pretty good there. When you said you went out and got another bid from another vendor. That's what I wanted to hear, because if we didn't, we should have 3 or 4 of them, but you covered it. So
Yeah, we got just one more response that was twice the amount. And plus our procurement policy also gives us the leeway to not bid it if it's a professional services agreement, because we are judging the provider based on competence levels and not just price.
okay, I heard that at admin. So that's why I pulled it, because I heard that, and plus it's a separate contract, something I haven't seen since I've been here. I've seen it for the parts and stuff, the 213,000. And I still say something that high still becomes an action item instead of riding on consent. That's another reason I pulled it. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Open up for public comment. Public comment is open on item number 3.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Okay, seeing no one here, no more public comments closed. What is the will of the board?
I move for approval.
Second.
We're probably moved in second on the question. All those in favor use the direct sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, here none, ayes have, motion carried. Item number 5, receive and file district-wide annual water production summary report for water year 2025.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to remember exactly why I wanted to pull this, but maybe if you could just start by how it's for clarification purposes. Production. Can you define production for me, just so I'm super clear?
Yeah, production is the amount of water that a well produces or is extracted. So it's the metered amount of water coming out of the ground.
So when you report your meter, this is the number.
Exactly.
And it's all of those reports together. So what I'm trying to understand better is what we're referring to as non-Cal-Am production and the non-Cal-Am limit. And if I'm reading this correctly, and this is all in response to, and I'm not remembering the exact item, but Thomas gave a presentation to the board the last meeting I was at. I think I've missed a meeting in between, but in particular, it talked about dryback years and how we were experiencing, even with all of our water savings, we're still having the dryback nearly every year. And in that conversation, and this is in particular in the Carmel Valley area portion of District 5, we've got Rancho Cañada Villages and One Carmel coming online. And it was just left as sort of an open question. What is that going to mean for the health of the river? So the question I have from here, if I remember correctly, is how much do we get to pull non-Cal-Am? Is there an actual limit? What is that limit? And I guess we'll just start there.
Okay, we'll bring John Lear in. Very highest level is the non-Cal-Am pumpers include both fractured rock wells, which we call them upland wells, and Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer wells. There are limits on the alluvial aquifer wells. We previously established limits on fractured rock wells, but we don't anymore. So for all practical purposes, there are no limits on those.
Okay.
And then keep in mind, One Carmel is deemed by the courts to be a separate aquifer from the Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer.
It's up for question still.
It's
There are not limits on all of the alluvial buffers.
Been determined by the
the-
judges.
by
but
the court.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Okay.
put their hydrogeologist cap on and make their
Okay.
determination.
So just,
That said,
yeah.
Rancho Pinata Villages is based on prior pumping of the golf course. So it's not like it's additive as new pumping. Yes, there was a gap between fallowing of the golf courses and bringing that water back online, but it's an old use that's being restored.
So then I'm going to limit my questions for Jonathan. Of the wells that are active, do we know how many of those are coming out of the river or even the Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer, just for my own benefit? And just the fractured rock aside, like what is the limit that we're allowed to pull? Because I'm looking at this document and I'll just cut to the chase. It says combined surface and groundwater production from all sources within the district water year was calculated at 3,332. And I'm just trying to understand what is CalAm, what is non-CalAm?
Yeah, so I can answer that, and it's probably a three-tier thing. This program is a program that everybody, including CalAm, that has a well has to have a meter on their well and report to us. And so we amalgamate all these data. We absolutely know where they're pulling from in the resource system. The allocation EIR is the limit that you're looking at, which was when the district first started allocating water. And that is not parsing out the Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer versus other areas in the basin. And so your question is even kind of more nuanced than this report. And we do have that information as well, that we could bring back to like the Water Supply Committee or whatever that wanted. And so I would need to go in and pull that out. Stephanie was talking a little bit earlier. It depends on the evolution of when you had a well, when you got it permitted, at what point in time in our rules, when was a water limit set on it. And so
Jonathan, is there just acre feet, like how much do we pull that's a non-CalAm? How much do we produce in the district non-CalAm?
That's the answer that's in this report right here.
And that was which number?
The 3,000. So it's if CalAm's pulling around 10,000 and the rest of the people are pulling around 3,000.
Got it. It's the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. I just, it's becoming clearer for me, understanding the full water picture. We focus a lot on the CalAm side, but our responsibility is all of it. And that was a really, that report was eye-opening. And I guess the only last part of my question would be, how much more could we pull if we wanted to? I mean, what's the limit of non-CalAm pumping, for example?
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say the river is over allocated already. So we don't permit new wells in the alluvium basically at all, unless they've already had an established water right and it's a replacement well. But John, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I was just going to say exactly what you were going down the road of. It depends on the rules of if it's inside the Seaside Basin, the Carmel Valley alluvium. They have very specific rules, legal rules that are associated with them, that we have district rules that make sure we follow those rules. But when you get to the upland areas and the fractured rock areas, those are not regulated by the state yet. And those are, people are out drilling wells and just kind of on the hillsides of the valley on lots, trying to see if there's water out there to develop. And so as far as setting rules, as far as setting limits on those wells, the district's not doing that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, I thought it was two good points about, sometimes we concentrate on too much CalAm, and we talked about that before. It's a lot of stuff that we do and we're responsible for. And then I think, General Manager, you were talking about we're not encouraging people to take any more water except the ones that have rights to it already.
Yep.
Public comment is open.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one here, no one, public comment is closed. Bringing it back to the board, what is the will of the board? Director Daniels,
So move that item, please.
thank you so much.
Second.
Probably moved in second on the question. All those in favor, use the direct sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, here none. Ayes have it, motion carried. Item number 6, receive fiscal year 2024-25 mitigation program annual report.
And I will tell you, Chair, as I'm looking through here, this is where it actually had the 3,000. So it's the answer to the question, it looks like it's in item 6, not item 5. And I can't remember, again, it was last night that I read this and said I wanted to ask the question, but if I could just zero in on one number here on page 81. So the option 5 was set as the new water allocation limit, and it's a limit of 16,744 acre feet. So that's our limit. Is that but we're only pulling at this point between both CalAm and non-CalAm around 1,300 and some change or whatever it was. Is that accurate?
Correct. And that,
Okay.
and not looking at the right page apparently, but that limit was set a long time ago, and the limit has since been changed
Got it.
to the regulatory limits.
Got it.
Both the state and the adjudication and Seaside.
I think I was just trying to understand the definition
Yes.
of limit. So that's helpful. Thank you. That's all I had.
Great, thank you. Any other board questions? Public comment is open.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Thank you. Seeing no one here, no one, public comment is closed. Bring it back to the board. What is the will? Now the board, Director Daniels. It's been
Second.
probably moved in second. Got that, Sarah, by who?
I see Director Daniels, or was it Director Gawain?
Riley.
Riley.
Riley
Yes,
was
Riley's
motion.
motion, yes,
Daniel's the second.
yes.
Uh,
Got it.
Any questions? All those in favor, use the rather sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, hearing none, ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you. Let's go on to the item number 8, General Manager's report.
Thank you. There are more pages in here than we were really going to talk about, so it won't be burdensome.
Now I understand production.
All right.
Won't ask my ASR question.
Just
But now that you understand it, the first chart that we're going to talk about, greater sense. Okay, so next slide, please. So we're going to start with supply and demand, and this is production for customer service. So when we think about water supply needed, we're talking about the production end. When we talk about demand, that's consumption, and the difference between the two is supposed to be losses and non-revenue water. The losses aren't always accurately reported, and sometimes it's hard to find the two. So we tend to use production as the measure of how much water do you need to feed the system to take care of all uses. Customers that do pay, non-revenue water, losses, and so forth. So we focus on production. So this is the production from the different sources for different purposes. It's half a year through the water year, so 6 months. And you can see that the current total 4152 is just 29 acre feet higher than last year. Last month when I gave this report, we were a little lower than last year, and we had a dry March. And so obviously irrigation needs were probably the driver. Looking at how these supplies are doing relative to availability, let's look at the next chart. And so the blue is available. And so, for example, on the Carmel River, that's the water right, the 3,376. But for And for Seaside Basin, it's the adjudicated native water yield. For Pure Water Monterey, because we're moving into expansion, it's a midpoint of the contractual number under the old contract and the expanded contract as we move. So it's about 4,800. But anyway, the blue bars represent how much is available. The orange bars represent how much has been used year to date, and the percentages are down at the bottom. So the Carmel River water right is still tracking, in our opinion, a little bit too low. But beginning in March, we backed off on deliveries of pure water to Cal-Am and more water to our reserves. That may have an impact on increasing Carmel River water. Plus the ASR season is over, so we're not diverting to ASR injection. More can be diverted for other purposes. Table 13 has not changed. It's 100% of the availability, and the availability only comes when it rains. And that season appears to be over, although, you know, we're expecting rain tonight. Keep your eyes open. And so forth. So Seaside Basin and Carmel River are below where we'd like them to be. You know, you should be about 50%. But things have seasonality to it. And as I said, we're dialing back on Pure Water Monterey, so you may see the Seaside Basin and Carmel River go up. The one thing that we have to keep in mind is with the addition of the expansion, we're heading into a water surplus mode. And so decisions are going to have to be made. And they're not always going to be the cheapest water is used first, because there are operational issues in moving water around and so forth. But Cal-Am will be this year, next year, and the year following in a surplus situation. So we're never going to get perfect on every source being used. But you can see storage is up there, and none of it has been tapped for obvious reasons, because we have enough in the other locations. Next slide, please. This is the storage. We've got 2,553. We just added 200 last month to our reserves. We're not yet at the new reserve requirement, which is going to be 2,850, 2,875. Yep, thanks, Mike. There is what's called carryover credit or carryover storage from prior unused, unpumped water in the Seaside Basin. And then there's the ASR, which has been stored to date over the last several years, including this year. So the total storage is 8,682, which is almost a full year water supply. What's not reflected here is that the Carmel River itself in the alluvial aquifer typically fills up every season if it rains. And that's about a 7-year supply of the water right. So we could have no rain for multiple years, and Cal-Am could still get its 3376. So this is just supply that we've created, we meaning the greater water community, that's active supply, but the Carmel River Basin itself is kind of inactive supply, just happens. Next slide, please. This is rainfall. Then I've just noted it's 115% long-term average, and that's through the end of March. But next slide, which is the current to date through last night, it shows 22.7 inches, which got us above the normal range, and we are now an above normal precipitation year. So there you have it. Next slide. ASR, we were able to restart again on the 13th due to the rains. Then we had to take a 2-day holiday due to our water permits. We have 2 water permits. They have different minimum in-stream flow requirements. So we went off of one, and then we went on to the other permit, started it back up on the 16th. Not sure if the predicted rains for tonight and tomorrow will be enough to restart again, but we're nearing the end of the season. May 30th is the end of the injection season, or 31st. Moving on to the acquisition of Cal-Am, second topic. We have our eminent domain action, which is us against Cal-Am to do the taking. The judge has indicated that he's bifurcating between the latent powers issue and the right to take issue, and looking for a bench trial on the latent powers issue October 19th. So we're beginning preparation for that. On the LAFCO appeal, which is Monterey County and Cal-Am versus us, our reply brief is due June 26th, and then after that, the court will schedule oral arguments, and probably take another, perhaps as much as 6 months after the briefs are due. We are working with several entities on amicus briefs, and those will be due shortly after our reply brief is due. And finally, next slide, please. So the Supreme Court review of the Liberty Utilities versus City of Apple Valley. The Supreme Court did send out to all the parties a notice that oral arguments would be scheduled in person in the next few months, and they sent that out in March, but they haven't set a date yet. And of course, our right to take trial will need that Supreme Court decision in order to inform our judge what standard of evidence and standard of standard of evidence and how to interpret things. And what's the next court case? We don't know. Hopefully there is none. And then finally, on the update on the Cal-Am desal plant, this is kind of a quarterly update. I gave you a lengthy update in January. In the comments column, so the conditional requirement column is the same as in January. The comments column should be the current status. The only one I want to highlight is the very first one, which is the Monterey One Water application for coastal development permit. M1W's board did approve moving forward on that at their March board meeting. But the application isn't prepared yet, and we don't know when it will be able to be submitted. And then, of course, it will take, really the standard review is pretty long. It might take a full year, and we just don't know. And that's the only change. All the other conditions that were not satisfied January 26th are currently not satisfied April 20th, and the other conditions that were previously satisfied remain satisfied. So not a whole lot of movement on satisfying the 20 Coastal Commission conditions. And I think we'll leave it at that. And the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Any questions?
Well, yeah. Right. Good report. You hit everything, but you know what I like to hear about the CDO.
Yep.
What's up? Are we gonna send a letter to them and we made that one of our goals to send a letter and ask, can we please have our hearing?
We sent a letter asking, could we please have our, well, we sent two letters. We sent an email saying ex parte rules don't apply to procedure by the state water board's own memorandum. And their response was, we're so skittish that we apply ex parte rules to everything. Okay. But they did assure us that despite the lack of communication, they're working on it. We followed up 3.5 weeks later with a letter similar to what the board discussed at our last meeting. And we indicated that the law, the code, seems to imply a promptness of response to getting to a hearing. And we raised the prospect of a writ. So in other words, we've made the threat that we could file a writ. And then they brought out their strategic plan for the year. And they had a number of items, maybe 13 or 14 items that were immediate priority. And then they had a number of items that were ongoing priority. And the cease and desist order was in the ongoing priority category. So we sent yet another note saying, we strongly, you're going to adopt your strategic plan tomorrow. We strongly urge you to move the CDO from ongoing to immediate. Mike was there that day. That email was noticed and recognized, and even their general counsel said, are you going to make comment on that? And Mike said, no, enough's been said, but so they know what's going on, but they are absolutely being incommunicative otherwise.
Okay, you know, in the past, we used to get CCs on some of your letters that you send out, you know, and I think that one letter, if you can send it to the board and in some way we can make it public, that's why I've been trying to get that letter brought out here to the full board so everybody can see it and they know we are acting.
Yeah,
So
and I will also send you, there is a website that they've created on the state board's web address. And they typically post all the correspondence. I haven't checked it in the last few weeks, but like all of our letters of support from the community are in there. Our filings are in there. So I'm assuming this letter's in there, but I'll get you that letter as well as the link to the state's website. So you can see
Okay.
that.
And for the website, is the desal plan coastal commission condition, do we have that on there? That we could update so people can look at that?
I'm not sure. I'll look into it.
If we don't, we should put this on there so they can stay up to date. But besides that, good report. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Daniels, then Director Riley.
So on the ASR injection summary for the water year, so if we assume that we aren't going to get enough rain to start injecting again,
Yeah.
and so we can look at the whole year, what did we get for this water year?
Yeah, that's the number that you see. I have the
835 acre feet.
835.
Oh, I didn't put it on. That's
Okay.
my bad. Yeah.
So so even though this was a normal, above normal year, when do we get up to, I can't remember what we do in our supply, but it was something like 1,100
Yeah,
acres.
1,210 is the long-term average. And we've been constrained because ASR wells 3 and 4 have been disabled for injection purposes. And so we're lacking injection capacity. So there's no constraints this year in the valley. You know, we've had issues before where valley wells are out
Mhm.
and we haven't been able to get CalAm to produce enough. This constraints all here on the seaside end, which is injection capacity.
So why are the ASR wells 3 and 4 not able to be used for injection?
So when we put pure water Monterey in place, we took ASR well number 1 offline as a production well. So 1 and 2 can still be used as injection wells. But we didn't want to produce because it was right in the kind of the heart of the travel of the pure water Monterey path. So even though pure water Monterey water is better than Carmel River water when it comes out, the control over virus location is to the, is it the 9th or 10th decimal, 99.99999. So there's a log removal credit. And so you have to make sure there's enough distance between the injection to the withdrawal. So we took ASR well 1 offline. There was a lot of clamoring about, oh, that's not fair. We rely on that well for production. And we said, well, why don't you connect the Peralta well to the Monterey pipeline and turn ASR well number 4 on as a production well, both of which they did, which solved the problem. But then ASR well number 4 had water quality issues that they seemingly have not been able to overcome or want to overcome, is probably the better way to say it. And so those 2 wells, well number 3 and well number 4, were converted to production only for delivering water to the supply. And they took out the key component of a Baskey valve that allows flipping it into injection mode. So normally we probably would have used 1 or both wells for injection. And we'd really love to have 1 more injection well in that field.
So would that, do you think, have gotten us in a year like this year to that 1210-ish range?
Absolutely.
So several years ago, I remember Senator Laird was able to get some money for a well. Is this the same kind of injection well we're talking about?
Different, but that was the injection well number 6 for the Pure Water Monterey expansion,
Okay.
which was on time and in budget and completely reimbursed from that discretionary money.
So my question would be, do we have as part of our, long-term planning? ASR just seems like such a clean, it's water that's either going to run into the sea or
Yep.
it's water that we could capture and then we could double the acre feet, it seems. So what is our long-term plan to try to,
So through the
Get-
current rate case, we're hoping that the PUC directs CalAm to convert well number 4 back to an injection well capability, especially if they continue to not use it for production.
and would that solve this problem?
Yeah,
Okay, well number 4 to an injection.
exactly. And there's a little bit of plumbing that would have to happen. And John, feel free to weigh in if I'm saying anything wildly incorrect. But the other option we have looked at is drilling our own district-owned 3rd well in the Santa Margarita area. The problem we have there is the identified location is under the power lines. It's hard to get a drilling rig in that can do the depth of the well. And we haven't gotten a final answer if there's actually no way to get a drilling rig under the power lines, but it's legit.
The only thing I would say, Dave, is that we are actively working with CalAm engineering staff as they drill Bayonet 1 and 2 and want to bring that production over to be treated at Santa Margarita. We're actively working with them to plumb to return it to injection, so that there are active conversations going on.
And that would be the best solution because cheapest and it's right there.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Director Adler.
Yeah, I have 2 questions, but one's a follow-up on that one. Is CalAm responsible for the new injection wells?
Yes.
Is it, and is there,
The new injection wells. Well,
well,
returning ASR 4 to injection mode would be a CalAm responsibility. CalAm is also responsible for the 2 new extraction wells, what John just referred to as Bayonet 1 and 2. All of the new injection wells for the pure water expansion are Monterey One Water responsibility, although we funded one of them.
I just felt, and I mean, maybe this is old news, but I thought that CalAm was on the slow track on putting its wells in. And that's part of the dilemma that we're facing, is that things aren't on time. And you nod your head. so
That's an accurate statement.
Okay, my other real question was, you said the coastal commission conditions. You said, well, there's only one you want to, I mean, I understand this is a key one, but are there other areas where there's any movement or any particular action?
The State Lands Commission is expecting to have a hearing on the incursion of the slant wells into state lands at the edge of the sea. That was originally scheduled for spring of last year, and it has not been agendized yet this year. So we expect some movement on that. The outfall NPDES permit amendment is likely to get a hearing possibly August, but I think it may fall into next year, but maybe August, maybe October of this year. So they need a modification to
That's the outfall again, though.
the outfall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't know, were there any other areas that there's some problem?
No, I think we saw in an annual report a claim that CalAm had started construction. I think there may have been some land moved in order to keep the county grading permit, and well, there was a comprehensive permit from the county, but in order to keep that permit alive, there may have been some movement there, but there's no real construction activity taking place.
Okay, that's was the other side of my question, is moving something around is under the caption of construction or moving in that direction, but I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? Public comment is open.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one here, no one, public comments closed, bring it back to the board. That was just a general manager's report. Now let's go on to item number 9, which is report from district council.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That report is found on page 113 of your packet. I'll just go through it briefly. There's not a lot of updates available. The first case that's pending, that's the district versus Cal-Am. That's the eminent domain. You've already heard from your general manager that the trial is set for October 19th. That's for the first half of it regarding latent powers. There's going to be a case management conference scheduled a couple days before on October 16th, and we expect that trial to take between 2 and 4 days. The second case, this is the district versus LAFCO. The district did file its briefs back in November of 2025. LAFCO and Cal-Am has received several extensions, and we expect, the most recent expectation for the reply briefs is to be due tomorrow. That's April 21st. Regarding the city of Marina with the district versus the Coastal Commission, this is the case that we're jointly on appeal. The respondents' briefs have not been filed yet, so there's no additional update there. Looking at matters regarding the PUC, the general rate case is currently up in San Francisco under hearings. And there is a potential settlement of some of the issues, but not a full settlement has been issued. And the hearings are ongoing. So that's kind of the update there. We'll have more after this week to provide. Regarding the PUC's acquisition rulemaking, the internal statutory deadline to issue a decision was extended to September 30th of this year, and the matter was reassigned from John Reynolds to Derek Hawk, and this was back in March of 2026, March 26th. The last update is the district versus the State Water Resources Control Board. This is the Sierra Club's attempt to obtain attorney's fees. There was extensive briefing and a trial was held. Ultimately, we received a ruling in our favor. However, we did receive word that the Sierra Club has filed for an appeal. We think that there's a very good record in the written opinion that was issued in the district's favor, but the Sierra Club is seeking substantial attorney's fees, so they're going to try to push as far as they can. So we received a notice that they intend to appeal. We have not received any official filing or case number. Once we get that information, we will provide it to you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Taking out the public comment. Public comment is open.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one, hearing no one, public comment is closed. Directors' reports, including any trips, conferences attended on our behalf. Starting on this side, just Georgetown?
Go ahead.
No, this.
No report. The Water Master met, and it was good to be back at a Water Master meeting. It's kind of round robin for me, but anyway, I was glad to participate. The most contentious issue, the most time consuming, it wasn't even particularly contentious, but the most time consuming issue was a new rule to how to approach a pumper who inadvertently could not meet a reporting requirement. So we spent a long time about what the options were available to the Water Master in order to implement their failure to comply with the rule. So we're trying to find some way to do that. I know, anyway, it's not particularly important here, but I just want to say that they were working on some details and trying to clean up just a kind of a leftover issue that existed there. And it's been a fair amount of time discussing it, but I thought it was a good discussion. So anyway, that's all I want to add.
Okay. You want to bless you? You want this stuff? All right. Okay, let's go on to our public hearings. Item number 11. Consider second reading and adoption of ordinance number 201. Amending Rule 10, 11, 23, 24, 25, 25, 33, 141, 160, 163, 164, 165, and 167. I think Stephanie, are you ready?
Thank you for the introduction.
Yes.
Yes. Tonight, this is the second reading and consideration of adoption of ordinance number 201. Sarah, there we go. It's the first of several ordinances that are intended to update and clarify the district's rules and regulations in support of the board's mid-level strategic goal number 6 to update and prioritize district rules and regulations. Most of the amendments are administrative, so there are not any really huge ones. At the last meeting, we walked through all the red lines and changes, and I'll just kind of highlight those this evening. Between first and second reading, legal counsel completed review of the document. So there were some minor edits. We clarified Rule 25.5 that the table 4 high efficiency appliance credit for 1.28 gallon per flush toilets expires January 1st, 2027. And at your direction last month, request for 5 acre-feet or more of the district reserve allocation will be referred to the board for consideration. Rule 142 was removed, and if you recall, that was the recommendation. And tables 4 and 5 in Rule 160 were adjusted to align the values with the dates. There was apparently some things that needed to get corrected on that. And finally, Rule 164 was amended to identify that the Bishop and Ryan Ranch water systems are now part of the main CalAm system. So you were provided with both the redlined and the clean versions of the ordinance, and those were provided in our staff report. The ordinance was also provided to the district's technical advisory committee for review after the March board meeting. I received some comments from Andy Myrick of Seaside, but they were related to the rule that we pulled out of the ordinance. So essentially no comments were received. So this evening, the recommendation is that the board should conduct a public hearing before considering adoption of ordinance number 201. In your consideration of adoption, the board should find that the ordinance is exempt from CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, pursuant to guidelines section 15307, and staff should be directed to file a CEQA notice of exemption with the county clerk. And that actually concludes my presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll open up for public comment. This public hearing is open for public comment.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Public comment remains open. You know, one here, no one public comments closed. Bringing it back to the board. What is the will?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second, and I have a comment.
Okay, thank you. It's been properly moved in second that we adopt staff's recommendation. This is the second reading. On the question, Director Rowe.
Just a short comment. This has been on the goals objective for several years. I know it takes forever to go through all the details and pull it all together, and about every whatever they are, and making everything kind of fit. But to update everything from several years ago, I just appreciate the effort that staff made. And I think it's pretty thorough what I've seen so far here. And I think there's more to come. But anyway, I'm just glad to see progress on that.
I'm glad you mentioned the more to come. There will be probably 2 to 3 more rounds of this.
Good.
There's rules and regs that I've never read that I finally read that why is this here? So there will be additional work to be done.
Chair, before questions, thank you. Stephanie, did you at least send an email to the realtors and to let them know what's going on?
Well, actually, this ordinance did not affect the realtors. So
she
no,
sent
it
it
was
to-
not provided to them. I sent it to
Okay,
the Technical Advisory
That's what it
Committee.
Tech-
Banners, yeah.
Okay. Just make sure we keep everybody with all these changes in the,
I'm
the
keeping
loop.
track of that. Yes,
because we have a room full of people that have been missing.
yes.
And you should know the Rule 160 modifications were noticed by CalAm and they had some concerns. But those concerns will be addressed the next October go round when we do the annual water supply budget
Okay.
going forward. And so what's being adopted here is what would it have looked like last October if we had adopted it based on the new rules? And so it's kind of a proxy, but it doesn't necessarily match reality
Proxy for what?
for what the year of water supply forecast would look like had it been adopted in October of last year. But what's happening is with the addition of Pure Water Monterey and the expansion, old assumptions about how the Seaside Basin gets hit and the river gets hit may need to be modified. So that'll be part of the October annual setting. So next October.
And it's part of your discussion on the urban water management plan.
Yeah. And you're going to hear about the urban water management plan at a later item. And we needed to modify these rules as part of addressing the water shortage contingency plan in the urban water management plan. So
Any other questions? So roll call vote.
Yes. Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Daniels,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Aye.
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Gawain,
Aye.
Chair Oglesby.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 12, hold a public hearing on annual status of vacancy recruitment, retention efforts pursuant to Government Code Section 3502.3. Right.
Yes, good evening again. I'm gonna put my human resources hat on for this item. So this. So this staff report is being provided to meet the requirements of Government Code 3502.
should just go old school.
Yeah. Except that I don't remember the code exactly. I think it's 3502. So which requires California public agencies to hold a public hearing at least once a year to report on job vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts. And this change went into effect in January of 2025 through AB 2561, which recognized the negative effects of understaffing and how it can undermine labor relations, as well as lead to destruction of public services. I understand the slide is a little too packed, but so there are additional reporting requirements if the vacancy rates are higher than 20%, which is not the case in other situation. And then employee unions can make a presentation during this public hearings as well. So we have 3 bargaining units: journal, management, and confidential. And then we have 5 divisions. So currently there are no vacancies across any of the bargaining units. And this is a little hard to read, but that's our entire org chart. We try to fit into one slide. There's the general management unit, the general manager's office at the very top, and then, the 4 legs are the 4 divisions. And the 2 boxes in yellow are the 2 positions that are being recruited currently. One's for a water demand manager position, and the other is a conservation or a water demand analyst.
One correction, it's the board of directors at the very top. Just,
Oh,
well, yeah, and then ratepayers at the very, very top.
strategic planning.
And a little bit about recruitment and retention. So this slide shows the average tenure of employees across the 3 MOUs or bargaining units. And you can see 2 distinct groups. One's, there's a big group of employees between 1 and 5 years. And then there's another big group of employees it's beyond 10 years. So that speaks to the, the fact that this is considered, like employees want to stay here. And that speaks to our retention efforts. In terms of our recruitment, most of the recent recruitments have been in-house. We post these recruitments on the district website and on other job boards such as CSDA, Government Jobs, Indeed.com. We also go out to external recruiters from time to time, and we have also used RGS or Regional Government Services for some recruitments. In terms of retention, the district offers competitive salary benefits. In 2024, when we did the MOUs, all the employee pays were kind of recalibrated to market rates. And those MOUs also included cost of living increases. We have good relationships with the union. We have frequent communication with them. The district offers a great work environment and also offers learning and development opportunities through various associations, including CSDA, ACWA, and others. And then there is also recognition and appreciation in the form of distinguished Dowser awards and other things. And in terms of risk management, we do quarterly inspection meetings, especially for our field staff at the ASR facility in Sleepy Hollow. And then we have programs for health and safety. And we also use trainings that are provided by SDRMA, the Special Districts Risk Management Association. So that provides a little bit of an overview of what we do. We're a pretty small organization, but we have pretty kind of robust systems in place, and we offer big benefits that that. So that's the approach.
Thank you. Can you go to the last slide, Sarah? What was the last slide? I thought,
The one before that?
yeah, well, no, I thought one came right after that.
Oh, it's for the next presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any questions from the board? Yes, Dr. Paul.
Thank you. The unions were told that this item was on the agenda. They could comment if they wanted to in this report.
I'm sorry, I didn't get
Were the unions,
Oh, I haven't heard anything from the unions. Let's monitor this.
No.
The question went, did we ask them? That was the question.
Did we notify them that they
Yeah.
could comment if they wanted to?
I personally did not. I keep that in mind.
I mean, the agenda is public. They
Yeah.
can see.
And it's an annual requirement now known by the unions, and it was, the legislation was actually pretty much pushed by the unions as well. So I think
They're aware.
they're aware.
And we're not reducing any,
Right,
we're not eliminating.
and we have no vacancy.
Yeah, no vacancy.
Okay, well,
It's a good.
in that case, it's reasonable to assume they're aware and felt there was no need to comment. That's good.
Yeah,
Director.
that's one. Public outreach is a contract. Who is the other one? You said,
All the contracted services that we had, so there are two contracted services under administration, which is information technology and GIS services.
okay,
Then there are other contracted services under the general manager's office, which is outreach with Bellman. And
The legislative lobbyists, so.
oh, okay,
State
okay,
and federal.
all right,
a bunch of them.
thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment is open. Particularly for any,
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
okay. Bring it back to the board. What is the will of the board?
Move approval.
Chair, this is just a receive the report. There's no action required.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, we'll talk about how to put that on the agenda then. You don't need to have a recommendation if there's no need to receive, Okay. All right, thank you so much for that, District Council. All right, let's go to action number 13.
And before Nichelle tells you what this is, I just want to give you the high level overview. We said there's no openings currently. Well, there's about to be one. Stephanie Locke is retiring as of this coming Friday, the 24th. But she wants to continue to bring you updates to the rules and regs, as well as onboard her replacement. A replacement an offer has been made, and an announcement will be likely made roughly Thursday. We're working on a press release for replacement. And then we will have another retirement in May, which will then create another open position that will be, that we're currently competitively searching for candidates. We've got a very good basket full of candidates. So that being said, this item addresses the Stephanie Locke retirement situation.
Thank you.
No, hold on. Hold on. Let me read the agenda item first.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I guess we already got the report, so let me read the item and open it up. Consider adoption of a resolution 2026-01 authorizing exemption to the CalPERS 180-day wait period for hiring a retired annuitant and authorization to execute an employment agreement with Stephanie Locke to fill a critical needs in a water demand division. I wanted to make sure we put that on the record, Dave. Critical need.
Thank you, Chair, for highlighting that, because that's a key term. And this item can't be a consent item according to CalPERS. It needs to be an action item. So that's why we have it here. CalPERS has what's called bona fide separation rules under its post-employment guidelines. And so when a retiree leaves, there needs to be a 6 month separation unless we can document a critical need, or there's a need for specialized services. And so, as the general manager said, staff's retiring after 3 decades of service, and we want to make sure that there's a smooth transition and transfer of knowledge, institutional knowledge, to whoever comes next. And plus, there's a requirement to just continue on some of the items, including district rules and regulations and things like that. So this is being proposed as an at-will contract with an end date of April or June 2027, and it will be bound, within the 960 hours of work per fiscal year. So this is just a request to first, number one, waive the 180-day requirement, and then two, authorize the employment agreement with staff. That's
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Director Riley?
I have a question, and does the retiree collect both pension and a wage during the 6 month period that they're extended locally?
They do collect pension, and the wage is limited as per whatever the resolution has. So there's a range, there's a minimum and maximum range, and the retired annuitant needs to be paid within the range published for that position. So she'll be an hourly employee, and she'll be collecting pension.
But she will not be receiving any benefits on the wage. So there's no health, there's no additional PERS on the hours that are spent. It's just a
Cash.
yeah.
And then up to what, 460 hours?
960.
960.
Yeah,
We're
half-
hoping it.
Half a year.
Yeah, and we're hoping it's not that.
We'll let George finish. Go ahead.
No, that was my question. Yeah.
Thank you,
Chair. So how come we won't put a number in here for a cost estimate? I've been seeing a number of these coming up, but we don't put a number in here, how much it's going to be costing us, because we're going to be paying 2 salaries.
We did put an approximate estimate for this year. I think it's 30,000 for this year and 88,000 for the next year.
For that position or for the whole district?
So what we will be adopting the budget, and this retired annuitant position will be included in the budget for next fiscal year. For this fiscal year, there will be some savings, and so I think we have the money to pay for this year.
Okay, but how much is that? In a few, I like to see how much.
In the $30,000 range for this fiscal year.
Yeah, how much you get an hour? What's our hourly rate? Put that in there.
$91 an hour. I think it's in the resolution somewhere.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before we go out to public comment? I'll just make a statement. You said, Michelle, I don't know when you said, well, you just said it, but I don't remember exactly what part you put in. But we're saving money either way. I think you just said you're saving money this year or you save money. The thing is, we're saving money by having her fill that position because she gets her retirement no matter who fills it.
Right.
Right? And so a full-time person gets a full salary plus benefits.
But you're
Still-
hiring her replacement as well.
But
And the replacement is actually at a lower range.
right,
So
right.
it's
That's for training purposes.
exactly.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, you're saving money no matter what. I just didn't want it to seem like somehow we're not saving money because we're saving money. All right, go, I'll open up public comment. It's pretty straightforward.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hand.
Okay. Seeing no one here, no one bringing it back to the board, what is the will of the board?
Move approval of resolution 2026-01.
The second.
Been properly moved to second on the question. All those in favor use the regular sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions? Hear none, ayes have it, motion carried. Let's go to item number 14. Receive report and review draft 2025 urban water management plan.
Sarah, can you bring Meredith Clement over? She's with Kennedy Jenks and they're the consultant we hired for the urban water management plan process.
Hello, I think I'm here.
Hey Meredith.
Hey.
All right, we've talked with a couple committees about the urban water management plan, so this will be repetitive for several of you. The urban water management plan is required by state code to be prepared by suppliers in order to ensure that they're looking at resources long-term, looking at various conditions, ensuring that the urban water supplier considers potential changes in supply related to drought and that there will be sufficient supplies in the long run. I provided two citations at the bottom, which can direct you to state code if you're interested in reading them. Urban water suppliers who supply more than 3,000 acre feet a year or supply water to more than 3,000 or more connections are required to write these plans. These plans are due for the entire state on July 1st of 2026. They get updated every 5 years, so we'll see you all again in 2031. DWR does review these plans. They make sure they are complete in meeting the state code requirements. So they have, sometimes there's some back and forth that occurs with them. The state code requires that data be provided either in a calendar year or fiscal year basis. At the Water Management District, we report on a water year basis, so you may see slight differences in numbers. So we qualified to be an urban water supplier at the wholesaler of Pure Water Monterey. There's a distinction in the urban water management plan between wholesaling and retailing in the sense that there are different requirements for retailers and wholesalers, but we're only required to write ours as a wholesaler. We also have conservation, and rationing regulatory authority. We operate and manage ASR injection, and we retail Pebble Beach cod, reclamation project, now I have retail starred here because the quantity is not greater than 3,000 acre feet and it's to fewer than 3,000 customers. So we are not, again, required to write this plan as a retailer. The components, it makes sense that there's a comparison of supply and demand. We look at the current situation, if hydrologic years are normal over the planning horizon, which is a minimum of 20 years. If there's a single dry year that occurs every 5-year mark, or if there is a 5-year consecutive drought beginning at the 5-year mark. So we don't stack the droughts, it's just one 5-year drought. There's also an annual water shortage assessment and a drought risk assessment. I'm going to talk about those in a couple slides. The annual water shortage assessment combined with demand management measures feed into what's called the water shortage contingency plan. And excuse me, that gives us procedures on what to do if there's a shortage. I'll also go into more detail in a couple slides. So doesn't MPWMD already do this? And we do. There's planning that the district does. The general manager provides supply and demand projections using the AMBAG growth forecast. That's over a 25-year horizon. The CPUC just closed a proceeding, I believe it was August of 2025, in part to look at supply and demand as phase 2 of the Pure Water Monterey expansion proceeding. We also have a quarterly water budget process. John Lear brings that to you all for adoption. That process, the team is comprised of the district, CalAm, NOAA Fisheries, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the State Water Board Division of Water Rights. We all get together, look at the quarter ahead. CalAm has an estimated demand, and targets are chosen for where the water should come from each month of the upcoming quarter. Our regulations for conservation, rationing, and enforcement are provided. And we monitor frequently. Every month, the general manager provides update on where the water supplies are and how it's looking this year. Lastly, there's a quarterly water operations meeting that staff hosts for the Monterey Peninsula. Everybody who's doing some sort of potable water operation, which includes Monterey One Water, meets and talks about what's been going on and what we expect in the near future so that we're all on the same page and we have a common understanding. So going back to the plan and the plan requirements and looking at supply and demand, the water code requires that the retailer and the wholesaler coordinate. So in this case, it's MPWMD coordinating with CalAm. And after the CPUC proceeding for supply and demand, we've just provided that as evidence. In looking at supply and demand, it's a balance between the two. You've got your storage at the beginning of the year, what you produce or what is delivered, and you subtract the use or demand. So taking the 3 water projects that we're involved in, Pure Water Monterey, ASR, and the reclamation project, Pure Water Monterey storage is, well, as well as the delivery and the use is governed by the water purchase agreement for Pure Water Monterey expansion. That requires 2,875 acre feet in storage after 3 years from what's called the performance start date. It also dictates 5,750 delivered and 5,750 paid for by CalAm. For ASR, we're a little over 5,200, 5,215. Delivery set at 1210. That's based on a hydrologic study and a lot of detail in the CPUC proceeding. And then for use, I'm going to discuss that in the next slide because it's hard to predict when the water portfolio has changed as dramatically as it has in the last 5 years. What does this look like as we move forward? Excuse me. And the reclamation project is pretty simple. They use whatever COG can deliver. So in trying to figure out how much ASR water needs to be recovered from storage, again, this is new. It's a new situation relatively. We look at all of CalAM's potable water supplies. We look at demand, which we do every month at the board meeting, and that will inform how much needs to come out of storage. So looking at annual supplies, we have the Carmel River. We did not include water right, commonly referred to as Table 13, because it is weather dependent. It's historically averaged about 250 acre feet a year, but we felt this would be a conservative approach to not include it. CalAM wheels river water under the Malpaso water right. Excuse me. And the Seaside Basin, the adjudication limit for CalAM is 1,466. We have included 766 because there's a payback that needs to happen for historical overdrafting of 700 acre feet a year for 25 years. So we've just assumed we'll start, what if the payback started right now? There is wheeled Seaside Basin native water that CalAM wheels on behalf of other adjudication pumpers. Sand City desal we took from this latest general rate case CalAM testimony, and Pure Water Monterey we discussed. Demand is taken from the 2026 draft AMBAG forecast. AMBAG looks at, okay, how much do we expect residential growth to be? What do we expect non-residential growth? That would be commercial, institutional, all the other categories. You take that growth rate and you apply it to the residential water consumption and the non-residential water consumption, and that is your estimate of how much water you'll need in the future. So when considering, looking at need and realizing that we are in a new situation, in looking at if we have latitude to take water out of storage, some of the things to consider are that storage is an emergency and a drought-resistant supply, and it's very good groundwater basin management, especially for our adjudicated basin right next to the ocean. What we found when we ran the numbers is that no ASR water needed to be recovered from storage. And we chewed on that for a little bit, but that's really consistent with where we've been since Pure Water Monterey started up. Once the base project started up in 2020, that was also the last year that any water was required to be produced from ASR. Now, some water was taken out in 2023. It was in lieu of another supply, and we feel like that was just getting used to the new supply portfolio, figuring out where are we going to take the supplies from and what's best for the system. So I'm going to go revisit those assessments I talked about a little bit ago. There's an annual water shortage assessment that looks at the current year and the following year, assuming the following year is dry. Will we have enough water in that event? There's also a drought risk assessment, which looks at 5 consecutive dry years. It's a little different than the 5-year droughts we looked at earlier with the urban water management plan, because the urban water management plan starts with a projection beginning in 2030. This covers that interim time from 2025 to 2029. If the next, for us now, 4 years are drought, will we have enough water supply? And what we found when we ran those numbers is, yes, we have a lot of extra water in storage, so no shortage there. In the event there is a shortage, this is where that water shortage contingency plan comes in. This is a standalone plan. When we come back to you at next month's meeting for the public hearing, we'll be bringing requests to adopt two plans. The second is this water shortage contingency plan. It's very similar to the district's rule 160 and regulation 15. It also gets updated on a 5-year time step or as needed, and it is also due July 1st. How the water shortage contingency plan works is our conservation and rationing has 4 stages. DWR requires 6 stages, and they allow mapping of existing conservation stages, R4 to their 6. And when that's done, it essentially maps all of our conservation and rationing actions to DWR 6 shortage stages. And what you wind up with is a procedure that says, okay, it looks like we're going to be 20% short. So I go to 20%, and these are the conservation actions that we implement. The status, we sent notice to jurisdiction that's required by code. We introduced to water demand and water supply committees. We got the public board or the public draft on the website, I think last Monday, and we're at the board workshop. Next steps will be to advertise the public hearing that goes into a newspaper well, I'll talk about it more in the next slide, for the public hearing on May 18th. The final draft will be created after the public hearing and all the feedback and submitted to DWR before July 1st. For the public, I've got the link for the draft provided on the bottom of this slide. In terms of public outreach, notice to the jurisdictions is required 60 days in advance of a public hearing. We did that. We also went above and beyond and let them know that the public draft was posted on the website. The notice of public hearing is required by code per, I think it's government code 6066. We advertise in a newspaper 14 and 7 days before the hearing. At the hearing on May 18th, it'll be to adopt the urban water management plan and water shortage contingency plan. That plan will then get submitted to DWR. DWR approves it, and then it gets submitted to the land use agencies and I think a library. Thank you. I know some of you have seen this a couple times and it's the end of an evening. Are there any questions that Meredith Clement and I?
Any questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment.
Yeah, if you want to give your comments right now, go ahead.
I think it's really well done. Really well done. I mean, it's, packed full of information that's required and required to be presented a certain way. I think it's everything is very clearly explained. It's clear, it's concise, it's presented, it reads well, it presents the visuals, work. I really think it's extremely well done. And it's the first time that we've had to do it too. So you should be proud of the work. I'm particularly glad that the role of storage especially in the next 25 years, the important role that storage can play. I mean, that's very well explained and it's very helpful. Hopefully it will help various personnel at various state agencies to understand that better. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. And a big shout out to Kennedy Jenks and Meredith Clement and her team.
Any other questions before we go?
Go ahead.
Director Daniels and then Director Riley and then Director Edwards.
So since it's the first time I'm seeing it, I don't think I've seen it. Okay, so just help me understand the difference. The water shortage contingency plan, you're saying that's coming back to us in May, but the whole thing is also coming back. So is everything posted right now for public comment, both items?
Yes.
Fabulous. And they're posted for public input, and then there is the public hearing in May. Got it. And I'm assuming that is our board meeting.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I took a shower this morning and was reminded of water rationing in the 1980s because of it. And I was happy there wasn't a bucket at the base of my shower that I was then going to use to flush the toilet. I took a nice warm shower that wasn't interrupted.
We do still have buckets available.
Thank you, Director Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any way when you're doing these announcements that you can put on there, you can view this plan, water demand, and I've seen it at water supply, the videos, the Zoom tapes that we take.
Do you mean provide them links so folks can go back and look at the meeting?
Provide a link so people can look at this, even this meeting.
Yeah, I think this was a high quality presentation. This would be the one to refer
Well,
to. Yeah.
Refer them to it so they can look at it and they have it and they can see what we're talking about. I appreciate it. And every time I listen to your presentation, it gets better and better. And you really, but you know, Kennedy Jinx or whoever that is, I was surprised they wasn't doing it. You did it. And I like that. So, thank you.
Director Raleigh.
Haven't we been doing or some version of urban water management plans in the past? And this is a new version because it's consistent with some guidelines from the state?
Yes, but no. We've never focused on the water shortage contingency plan element of it, and that typically becomes an appendix to the urban water management plan or an attachment. The key features of the urban water management plan, which is supply versus demand. Yes, we've been doing that now roughly 8 years on a 4-year cycle. So probably really 10 because we did one and then we conformed it with the AMBAG forecasts on their cycle. And that's where our differences have evolved from Cal-Am's testimony with the issues of are one of the parties double counting and the other party's not, and therefore there's differences. And so whose plan do you believe? And there's a little element of that in our urban water management plan to say, you know, here's what we anticipate is going to happen. But as a wholesaler, not all the same parts are there as a retailer. So Cal-Am's urban water management plan has to include all of the supplies that serve all of their customers. Our obligation is the supplies that we have our fingers in. And so it's somewhat limited to that. What we've done in the past is much more aligned with what a retailer's urban water management plan would be, because you know our primary interest as the resource manager is there enough supply to meet future demand, overall demand and overall supply. But yeah, similar exercises.
And I alerted you ahead of time, I was gonna ask this question, but it's bothered me for some time now, years. Cal-Am uses the phrase peak demand. And I didn't see that phrase in here, and I don't know how it's used by Cal-Am, and I don't know how it's used by us. But it seems to me there's some man-made issues around peak demand, like car week or something, or hot weather, and everybody wants a sauna. But where does that phrase fit into this, or not fit in?
So, and Mike gave you a citation in an email today. There is such a thing as maximum day and peak hourly demand, and so basically, in the water code, a water provider has to analyze what its maximum day peak hour has been within the last 10 years, and then ensure that there's sufficient water supply to meet that. And if you don't, as a water supplier, if you don't keep actual data, then you have to do estimated data, and you take the maximum month, divide by the days in the month. And then you have to actually demonstrate that you've got 150%. So the maximum day is a planning requirement to make sure that you've got redundancy and sources that can meet peak demand. it's been twisted a little bit in proceedings and testimony where when you're planning a water supply project, you're typically planning for average demand. Do I have enough water to meet demand in every year going forward for 25 years? But you also do need to have enough to meet peak demand. And our preference in all of our analysis has been to rely on storage to meet peak demand. So then what you have to have is enough capacity to pull storage out and make it available. In testimony, CalAm has conflated the two at times, saying, oh, well, we're required to use 10 years worth of data to do our demand forecasting. Well, for water supply planning purposes, that's not true. And so there's been some issues surrounding how that's been used in the proceedings at the PUC. Suffice to say that the drought analysis that Maureen's referred to in the water shortage contingency planning element is a little bit like peak planning, but it's really not. It's what if you just have a really bad year overall? And so you're not really, none of this really is designed to satisfy that peak requirement under the water code. And I don't know, Maureen, if you have some more to add on that.
No, that was great. Just that maybe the time basis is a little different. If you're looking at something over a year, there's a lot of latitude. You're looking at average. If you're looking at the car week and it's crazy hot, they need to have enough equipment to be able to meet that. But
Why?
um,
It's
be-
man-made. If it's a man-made use, then why should we be public agent responsibility for a man-made, overdraft, or so to speak, overuse?
Some of that, George, is how the Division of Drinking Water assesses the CalAm system. And so this is a requirement from the Division of Drinking Water. And then the reports that they do every 2 or 3 years on the CalAm system is saying, hey, do you have the ability to meet maximum day demand? And so that's why this comes up, but it's only between CalAm and the Division of Drinking Waters where you see that.
Okay, that's why I don't see it here, because it's really through the PUC. Is it
Through
PUC?
it's a state water board. It's their
Okay,
there are regions of the Division of Drinking Water, as opposed to the regional board, which is a separate issue, mostly about wastewater discharge. But so we have a local Monterey regional Division of Drinking Water, and CalAm has a survey done about every 2 to 3 years, as Mike pointed out, and they basically stress test the system using these calculations, your 10-year maximum day, peak hour, and they look at whether you have enough redundancy or enough capacity to produce the water that's needed to meet that. And so even though that day is created typically during car week, August, hot, muggy, and it's man-made, all demand is man-made.
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So I'm about to say for a minute
Yeah.
there, Dave. So
So-
let's just wrap this part up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead and answer it, but it's just.
No, so you do have to plan for those. It's, and the economy is entitled to grow and burn as brightly as it wants to, and you have to be able to meet it. But you do use historical numbers. And I'll tell you, the max month has gone down. We used to be, as a system, July and August above 1,200 acre feet in a month. And then it got to 1,100, it got to 1,000. Now all months are under 1,000 at this point. So we have shaved those peaks, which is good, which makes the math easier, but you still have to plan for it.
well, I just want to wrap up my thoughts too, that the water shortage contingency plan made a lot of sense to me, because it seems like there's the rationing issue is not a scary thing. You gently walk into it, you have large categories of breakpoints. And so I just think it's very flexible. And there's no sense of urgency or panic, when when it happens. But the public just kind of treats it like, oh, rationing is terrible.
Yeah.
It's not like it's terrible. That's all my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the war years then. And so.
Question.
Director Daniels.
Sorry, I didn't have it before, but I'm just thinking about what we're talking about now. So you used the CPU decision as evidence. So that would be their supply and demand numbers. Yet we didn't, the plan demonstrates that we have long-term adequate water supplies for existing and future needs. So it, even if there was some dispute amongst some about the demand side of those calculations, even using those numbers, we're able to look at our long-term water management plan. And the result of this seems that we have plenty in storage and have a plan that's going to work. Do I have that correct?
You do, we cited the CPUC decision as evidence that we coordinated.
Okay, as evidence that we
Yeah.
coordinated, not as evidence for the numbers in the plan. Got it. Then that's a different thing. Okay, well, I'm impressed with the coordination. I'm impressed with the coordination that happens even every single month and what was described in the plan. It would be wonderful to have that level of coordination all the time at every level. One question that I have about the AMBAG, forecast, and it works in this plan here, but I have a question for you, just being the one who's worked on this plan, is if the AMBAG forecast is looking at residential growth, how does it account for a jurisdiction like ours that's in a housing crisis? So that would mean that there's a lot of people commuting to the Monterey Peninsula for work. I think the city of Monterey doubles in size each day. Do we calculate the potential for solving that problem ever? I'm on my supervisor hat side, really trying hard to create more opportunities for folks to remain in our community, or folks who may have been pushed out of the community to be able to come back, or folks that work in our community. Does AMBAG's forecast address any of that? Because that would all equate ultimately residents again, full-time residents again, that don't necessarily live here now.
They went out, and I know the general manager will jump in if I misstate. They went and interviewed the jurisdictions. They
Mhm.
met with folks looking at the forecasted plans and the projects in the pipeline to come up with their numbers. The transition from commuters in to residential would be covered in the residential growth. But interestingly, the non-residential, their use for non-residential would go down that bit.
And is there anything, I read something, and I think it was in the first plan, the water shortage contingency plan. A number had gone down, and I don't remember exactly what number it was or even what page it was on. But is there any impact we're seeing from the loss of full-time residents? People becoming part-time residents, not full-time residents?
The answer is
The
yes.
empty homes in my district where I have
Yeah.
residents telling me they're the last house on the block that's a full-time resident. kind
Yeah,
of
we
thing.
hope to provide you a little white paper, a tech memo on that issue. We're analyzing data right now. We've got, I think, 2 years now on housing data. We want to get 5. And the other piece of it is school enrollment. You see school enrollments are going down, and that has some translation to what the future of population will look like here. And so the short answer is yes, it has an impact.
Got it.
The longer answer is we like to come back with the discussion of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Director Paul.
On the subject of housing, I noticed somewhere in the draft of the first report, where you discuss the demographics and income levels, and you say that a high proportion of residents of cities of Monterey and Seaside are renters. Well, City of Pacific Grove actually on its website says that 54% of housing units are occupied by renters. I don't know if you want to include that or not, but Probably more higher than people would assume, yeah. My other question related to energy intensity of our water supply. So that was interesting, and I'm looking at page 6-12 of the report. I guess it's energy intensity of all sources combined, is that, no?
No, it's just for the facility that we control, which is the Santa Margarita site. So there's power associated during injection season with back flushing. And additionally, the treatments that are seaside, the majority of seaside groundwater basin production is on our Santa Margarita site. So that power is in our records as well.
Okay, so limited to that facility. Yeah, I thought it was the whole system because the heading says energy intensity of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District system. But okay, you clarified that. It would be interesting to know the energy intensity, and I don't expect you to answer this tonight, but it'd be interesting to know the energy intensity of the Pure Water Monterey facility and how that compares to other recycling facilities and how that compares to desalination facilities.
Yeah, we actually analyzed that at one point. But the current energy intensity, I think we can come back to you with something.
Would be good, thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Mike, if you want to make a comment.
Yeah, just one comment. You know, I worked with Maureen and Meredith on this process and it was very methodical. And, you know, I'm just super proud of where we are and this product that we're delivering. These aren't easy, and to get into the details like we've done is really encouraging. And, you know, Supervisor Daniels, I think there may be a little differences between supply and demand, and that's okay. But, you know, we have coordinated and we've tried to do the best that we can do and with the data that you see here. So just a big lift, and it's one that's taken a year to get here. Just really appreciate Marine's effort.
Yeah, Maureen and Meredith both. I mean, this is a fundamental first step, and we really had to do it right. It did a fabulous job.
Okay, let's open it up to public comment.
Good evening, Tom Raleigh. I've spoken to you before about my concern that I know in Monterey, just on Garden Road alone, there's 5 major residential developments. One was finally turned into residential in December by the MPUSD. And I just talked to E.K. Diffenbaugh this past week, how many kids are in the school district housing, 64 units. And he said, very few. He didn't have a number for me. The other one that's en route to completion is on Garden Court, which is one of the huge buildings that's being converted to apartments. That's going to be the second one coming online. But there's 3 more major projects along Garden Road. And I know the Seaside has major developments coming online. And I think the Marina has more hotels coming online, whether these are going to impact on the population data. But I think it's interesting you raised the thing about with the people moving from the state. I think that's a phenomenon that we don't know the end result, because from what I learned is it's continuing. And what I've seen, all the data I've read, it doesn't seem to be stopping or fading out. So there are some real unusual factors that are affecting our residential data and are going to. And then the other thing is on the hotels, we still know on water consumption that we're still around 70% of pre-COVID, which COVID started in 22. We're in 26, 27 now, fiscal year coming up. So we are still below on the economic as far as visitors and use of water consumption. So we've got a lot of things that are ongoing right now. that we probably need in about 2 years to have an update of this study to see how these things pan out. So in 2 years supposedly is when the decel project's online. And that's going to supposedly open a lot of housing projects and a lot of development up. So there's a lot of things going on, but this is a great start. Thank you.
Chair Oglesby, I see no raised hands.
Seeing no one else, hearing no one else, public comment is closed. This is for direction. Anybody else have any more comments? We'll just deem the report received. All right, so let's go on to informational items, staff reports. Any other comments by general manager, staff, directors, or council as it relates to item 15 through to 23?
We have known.
Any other comments from the board? No, okay. All right, there's nothing else on this agenda. This meeting is deemed closed.